So today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make a woven drawing. This is the end result, and we will kind of go through the steps. So I'm going to create a collage, and I'm going to use some of these papers that I did some jelly print, monoprinting on. Some were just to clean off the brayer. Some were like prints I did that maybe I was just practicing, or they didn't turn out very well. Some more cleaning out the brayers. I just layered the paint on there. So they have like some fun colors, but they're obviously not any pieces that I would want to actually use for anything, but they are great for collage. So there's a couple that didn't come on, the paint didn't come all the way off. So I'm going to choose a few of these and create a collage with them, cut them up into strips and create a collage with them. So I've chose some different papers. I'm trying to look for some variety in color and texture, and I'm going to cut these up with an X-Acto knife and a ruler. Got my cutting board here. If you don't have something like this, maybe a piece of cardboard or something so you don't cut into a table surface. Old piece of cardboard, which is fine, but you can see there's a variety of textures and stuff here. So I'm going to cut them in maybe like a variety of thicknesses, but nothing thicker than like an inch. So we'll do that. So you can see now I have a lot of strips here, and if you didn't have prints like these, you can really use anything. You could use old drawings, you could use magazines, newspapers, cardboard boxes, like from cereal or whatever. They could be a variety of sizes. They could be little small ones. This one's probably going to be probably about 8.5 by 11 because that's the size sheet I'm working from. Now I could take these right now and kind of figure out what's going to be my warp and weft, so I could take some of the wider ones and start to kind of lay them down. And obviously I wouldn't have all these underneath it. I'm just trying to show you. And then I can start to kind of weave back and forth. Now the problem with this is that obviously they're kind of moving all over the place. So to prevent that, so I don't have to do any gluing right away, is I need like something that's going to kind of be my warp. I think that's, if I remember my terms correctly. I need some kind of paper, so I could use something that I already have printed like this that has a texture on it. This is just a piece of copy paper, so I might look and use one that maybe is a little bit thicker, just so it has a little bit more sturdiness to it. But if I use this, what I'm going to do is like cut some like lines through here. Not all the way through, just kind of maybe bringing it in like an inch or so, maybe just to the edge of this texture. And then these will be stationary, and then I can weave the other kind of through this. So the reason I would want maybe something a little bit sturdier, some of these little papers are a bit sturdier, so this might be a little weak, although I do like this print. So I'm gonna look at my other ones and see if I have anything that I like. If not, then I will just, I'll just stick with this one, but we'll see how that goes. So I think I've decided to use this one. There's a lot of greens and stuff in a lot of these pieces I cut, so I think it'll be a nice contrast. And then I'll have these little lines kind of coming through here. I probably will save this one. I'm probably going to have potentially enough strips here. I might have to cut some more. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe use this for some of the other ones that are maybe just the paper ones and not the thicker ones. So we'll do that. So I'm going to cut some little lines in this, which you'll kind of see kind of in the fast mode. So now I have all my strips cut in here. I could have went and measured them all, top and bottom, but I just kind of kept them random. If you wanted them all the same size, I would definitely measure it to cut them. Definitely helps to have a sharp X-Acto knife. Now you might say, what if I don't have an X-Acto knife? You could use a box knife if you have one. Just once again, a sharp blade is always nice. For these little guys, obviously I could have used scissors. You might not have them so nice and straight. They might be kind of a little bit more wobbly, but you know, that's okay. Maybe you intentionally make them wobbly, give them some curves in there, kind of create some fun stuff. For this, if you didn't have X-Acto knife, you could probably still, you'd have to kind of maybe make yourself like a little hole there that you could kind of get your scissors in to kind of make these slits. Or you could just try the weaving, you know, with just all the strips together, and just kind of might take a little bit more patience, but you could do that. So now I need to decide which ones of these I'm going to use. So, you know, I'm probably going to just kind of wing it as I kind of go along here and just kind of see what I like. So I've got one that's kind of a little bit less patterny that I'm going to start with. It's about maybe 3/4 of an inch. And the whole concept of weaving is over, under, over, under. So, or under, over, under, over. So here I could start over and then go under. So you can see I'm just kind of taking my piece of paper and just kind of weaving it through my little pieces here. Keep kind of going. So I'll do these first two like this. And since this is a sturdier paper that I'm weaving into, it's pretty durable. It's a piece of Stonehenge paper that I printed on. If it was just the copy paper, I'd want to be careful because if I get too close to these little edges, I could kind of create a rip there. But you can see now I can kind of pull this through and kind of get it all the way down to the bottom there. So you can kind of see that. Pretty cool. So now I think, okay, do I want one that's real close to this color, or maybe I want to kind of vary it a little bit? So maybe I'll kind of take this guy here, and I flipped it around because it's a little bit lighter right there. So now I can start on either side, but let's say I'm going to, I might put this like right underneath there. There we go. So I need to do the opposite. So here you can see I'm under right there. So I need to be over. So I'm going to pull this one and I'm just going to go the opposite that I just did. So, you know, it just kind of takes a little finagling here. So if you made these like super thin, you know, obviously you have to get your finger in there and it could be a little bit more of a challenge, but you know, almost to the end here. And then I want to go under this little guy. So you can see I have that one. And now I'll kind of push this nice and snug down there. Once again, if it was a copy paper, I just want to be careful. Since this is a little bit thicker paper, you can see how I can't get it down like all the way down to it, which is okay. You know, we're just playing around. But you can kind of see how. And then at the end, you know, I could leave these little tails hanging out, or I could decide that I want to kind of cut them flush with the edge of the paper. I could put a tiny bit of glue underneath here to kind of hold that in place. Now these are both kind of the same thickness, so I'm probably going to choose to go with a little thinner guy, like maybe one of these for the next row, and just kind of play around. I might go to a little bit lighter colored one though, than that right there. So maybe this, I don't know. But we're going to kind of do that in fast time, so you'll kind of see me do a few. Yeah, I've got about half of it done here. You can kind of see how that's looking there, and envision like these little edges, because I probably will cut these off. So envision these little edges here. Now I've been using all like the thicker paper ones, but I'm going to in just a minute try to weave in one of the thinner ones. I mean, it does get kind of challenging when you kind of get into this area, so definitely if you were weaving into something thinner, like a thinner piece of paper, like copy paper or sketchbook paper or a magazine, just kind of be careful. But if you get a little tear, I mean, it could be okay, or you just put a piece of tape or glue on it at the end, and I think it'll be fine. This all will stay really nice and sturdy once it's all woven together. So you can kind of see how that's going. Sorry about the light on there. Oh, I have it all woven through. And if you notice in the time lapse that I flipped it over to its back, I was having a hard time with this last one, which I just realized right there. I've got a little issue, so I'm going to go back and fix that top one. It was a little bit harder because I'm getting close there and I couldn't get my finger in there, but flipping it over seemed to help. Than any like bends that I maybe created. They're kind of hidden on the back. So I'm going to go back and fix that little spot right there. And then I'm going to kind of cut these edges off and mention that. Fixed up. Oh, I did get a little bent up on this end trying to get it through, but no worries because that's going to be cut off. So one thing I did notice about the ones that were copy paper, which are like this one here, and this one here. It kind of wants to bend up through that thick paper. So definitely after I cut this edge off, I'm going to put a little bit of glue underneath all those. So I'm going to kind of turn it this way, kind of getting some light hidden there, but I think you'll get the idea. So I've got my X-Acto knife, and it's going to kind of lay it along the edge of my paper, get it all lined up, and just cut all these like little guys off right here. Which I probably would not throw those little pieces away unless they're just pure white, because some of these, you know, I could use in another type of collage. Oops, I didn't do a good job there. But you can see these little ends here are going to kind of stick up here, so I'm going to want to glue those. So same with over here. This kind of has the deckled edge, which I'd like to keep on there, so I'm going to go just above that. Hopefully I can kind of cut these off. The knife's getting just a little dull, so I do notice those move a little bit, so I kind of hold your ruler nice and tight where you're. So if you don't know what a decal is, that little kind of rough edge, that's the decal. So you can see how these little ends are kind of sticking up. So I'm going to take, and you can use whatever glue you have. It could be Mod Podge, it could be like Elmer's glue. I've got this soft gel that I think I'm going to kind of brush under those little edges. So we'll do that. So I did go and glue all those down. And probably once this side is dry, I'll go back and do the back side. I think I've decided with this medium, this is Golden Soft Gel Semi-Gloss. I think I'm going to go and put a layer over the whole thing. So I'm just going to take this and just kind of brush a whole layer on top of it. It'll kind of seal it all together and just kind of give it a nice kind of overall kind of a semi-gloss, because that's what it is, kind of finish on it. If you didn't have this particular medium, obviously you can just leave it. You could kind of thin down some Elmer's glue and kind of do the same thing. It's not really necessary. It is kind of holding itself together, but I just think it's going to create kind of a nice kind of a sheen on it. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I'll let it dry, and then I'll kind of get the back ones kind of stuck on there, and maybe put a coat of this on the back too. Okay, so I got that all done. So now it'll just need to dry. Now, one thing to be aware of is that you do have little slits there. So make sure whatever you're doing it on, like you can see how this has kind of gone through a little bit, which is fine because it's just on my cutting mat. So I can kind of scrape it off with a razor blade if I was concerned about the texture on there. But I'm going to let this dry, and then we'll go to and do the back. And I probably will cut a little bit off this bottom, not too much because I've got cuts there, but just to kind of even out. And I might take well, I had that deck on that side. I might take a little bit off this side too, just so the border's nice and even. But I could easily leave this with a little bit longer on that side if I was okay with that. And hopefully then after it's dry and I do the back side, this light that's coming through the window will be gone. I'll probably mention, if you decide to put a whole coat of either a medium or Mod Podge or Elmer's glue on there, is that what I had on here was all acrylic paint. If you are using old drawings that have something water soluble, whether it be pen or watercolors or markers of some sort, just be aware when you put that on, it's going to smear around, which could be kind of cool, but you might want to like have a little piece that you can kind of play around with first, just in case that happens. So here it is all finished. I've got the gel medium all on this side, all trimmed down. I did put the gel medium also on the back side. So now it's all nice and contained, slightly glossy, which is kind of nice. So there it is. And remember, some of this you can, like I use these drawings, these old prints, but you could really use magazines, old drawings of your own, just about anything that you can cut down into strips and weave together. Thanks.